Welcome back to Philomath. This is my continuation of my video series on the Final Fantasy and Tartarian connection. We'll be continuing the series with, of course, the next entry in the series known as Final Fantasy II. In Part 1, we explored the various connections between the Tartarian Old World and Final Fantasy I. Naturally, every new entry in the series we explore together will couple with the previous entry. Let's go ahead and start with the setting and characters of the second entry in the series according to Wikipedia. Final Fantasy II is set in a fantasy world divided between multiple nations, including the Palmacian Empire and the Kingdom of Fen. During the game's events, the Palmacian Empire has begun a ruthless expansion, conquering or destroying its neighbors, including the Kingdom of Kashun and the Dragoon homeland of Deist. A rebellion is formed to fight against the Empire's expansion, headquartered at Fen Castle. The game's inciting incident is an attack by the Empire that destroys Fen Castle and the surrounding town. Final Fantasy II features 4 playable characters as well as several secondary characters who are only briefly controlled by the player. The 4 main characters are Firion, in the Japanese release, a young man skilled in fighting, his childhood friend Maria, Guy, a man formerly raised by wolves before becoming friends with Firion and Maria, and Leon, Maria's brother and temporary ally of the Empire. Other notable characters are Hilda, leader of the rebel army, Minwu, a mage serving Hilda's family, Gordon, heir to the throne of Kashwan, Joseph, a villager in the town of Salamand, Layla, a pirate who joins the rebellion later, and Ricard Highwind, last of the Dragoons. The main antagonist, of course, is the Emperor of Palmacia, a powerful mage who seeks to conquer the world and summon monsters from hell to achieve this. Once again, as in Part 1, we can see the overlapping Tartarian elements we encountered, such as castles, evil empires, dark magic, pirates, as well as new entries that were not present in the first part of our series, as well as the overlapping theme of old world elements presented with things that would be considered only to be present in the modern day itself. Of course, like I said in the first part of our series, the name of the series itself is indicating the end of an era or the end of a specific time period. So let's explore the story together, and towards the later part of the video, we'll do the breakdown of the reoccurring elements and how they occur, of course, in the Final Fantasy universe and how they connect with Tartaria itself. So the story says that Firion, Maria, Guy, and Leon are attacked by Palmacian Black Knight soldiers and left for dead. Firion, Maria, and Guy are rescued by Princess Hilda, who has established a rebel base in the town of Altair after her kingdom of Fen was invaded by the Emperor. Hilda denies the request to join the rebel army because they are too young and inexperienced. The 3 set off for Fen in search of Leon. There they find a dying Prince Scott of Kashun, Hilda's fiancé, who informs them that a former nobleman of Kashun, Borgin, betrayed the rebellion and became a general in the Imperial Army. The party returns to Altair to notify Hilda. She allows the group to join the rebellion and asks them to journey north to find mithril, a metal that could be used to create powerful weapons. The party makes its way north to the occupied village of Salamand, where they save the villagers forced to work in the nearby mines, kill Borgin, and retrieve the mithril. For their next mission, the party is sent to the city of Bafsk to prevent the construction of a large airship known as the Dreadnought. However, it takes off just as they arrive. After retrieving the Sunfire, a weapon that can blow up the Dreadnought, they watch helplessly as an airship with Hilda on board is captured by the Dreadnought. When the Dreadnought lands to stock up on supplies, the party rescues Hilda and throws the Sunfire into the airship's engine. Before escaping the explosion, the party encounters a dark knight Maria recognizes as Leon. On his deathbed, the king of Fen tasks the party to seek the help of the seemingly extinct Dragoons of Deist. There, the party finds only a mother with her son, learning that all but one of the Dragoons are dead, partly as a result of Imperial poison. After placing an egg of the last wyvern in a cavern, the party returns to Altair and finds the Hilda they rescued is a Lamia in disguise. The The party slays the imposter and rescues the real Hilda before successfully reclaiming Finn from the Imperial forces. They then travel west searching for a powerful magic item, joining forces with the last surviving Dragoon. The party returns to Finn and sees that many towns have been destroyed by a cyclone, summoned by the Emperor. The party calls upon the newly born last Wyvern to take them to a castle inside the cyclone, where they confront and kill the Emperor. Everyone celebrates the Empire's defeat until a mortally wounded Finn soldier arrives and reveals that Leon has taken the throne and plans to destroy the rebels with the Imperial army. The party enters the castle of Palmacia and confronts Leon. The Emperor reappears in the throne room in a new demonic form, revealing he has become the ruler of Hell and returned to destroy the entire world. Ricard sacrifices himself to allow the party to escape with Leon and the Wyvern. Palmacia Castle transforms into the Pandemonium, the capital of Hell. Leon agrees to help the group seal the Emperor away. The party travels to the Jade Passage, an underground passage to the underworld, and finds the portal to Pandemonium, where they finally defeat the Emperor. Afterward, Leon chooses to leave in response to the trouble he caused, though Firion assures him that he will be welcomed back if and when he returns. As we can see throughout the entirety of Final Fantasy II, there are several different world elements or old world elements that can be contrived from this specific entry in the series. One of the first elements we can talk about in this specific series that has many other applications and uses in other works throughout the world is, of course, J.R.R. Tolkien's concept of mithril, which has, of course, been injected into this entry itself and is, of course, used in other Final Fantasy titles as well as other video games as well. Unironically enough, one of those video games being a video game called Terraria. Interesting. These kinds of precious metals serve as a reflection of lost knowledge and crafting of precious stones, which seem to be a recurring motif in old world aesthetics or weaponry. A precious ore, the mithril, is used to craft weapons and armor, which would render a superior object compared to other ores, such as iron and silver, for example. It would also indicate a type of class hierarchy because more often than not, this substance is attributed in most instances as being either hard to mine for or extremely rare in general, usually written off as a fantastical substance. When one thinks of the idea of Tartaria, for example, in modern times, the idea of Tartaria in its concept is usually written off as a fantastical concept in and of itself. According to the Final Fantasy Wiki, mithril is a strong, easily processed metal. Highly responsive to magic, it forms the basis of magical armaments. A valuable metal, it can be crafted into many items of equipment like armor, gauntlets, and swords. As fascinating a topic of the topic of mithril is the concept of dragoons, which are also first introduced to us in Final Fantasy II. According once again to the Final Fantasy Wiki, the Dragoon makes its first appearance in the series as a group of dragon riders who fought alongside wyverns. The Emperor killed off most of the group out of fear, leaving only Ricard Highwind. Later releases give Ricard equal proficiency with spears, have him joined with a spear equipped, and provide spears as his ultimate weapons. Additionally, his appearance was overwritten to be more similar to Cain Highwind. Of course, the association with the concept of the relation between the old world and dragoons is quite simple. The idea of ethereal magic weapons, castles, and of course dragons sets this specific class of knight alongside the old world aesthetic. Now, whether this be coincidental or not, the relation between the two I leave up to the viewer. Though personally, I don't really believe in coincidences. The connections between the Dragoon Knights and the Wyverns themselves is absolutely fascinating from my personal perspective and begs to be investigated for the inquiring mind. Also, I'd like to add how I find it amusing that the modern interpretation of the Dragoon is simply a mounted infantryman on horseback with simple swords and firearms, an elaborate cover-up, or possibly the original proper definition. I'll let you be the judge. Next, let's talk about the wyverns themselves. According to Wikipedia, the wyvern, or wyvern, sometimes spelled wyvern with an I, is a type of mythical dragon with 2 legs, 2 wings, and often a pointed tail. The wyvern, in its various forms, is important in heraldry, frequently appearing as a mascot of schools and athletic teams. Interesting. Upon even light research of this quote-unquote mythological creature, even the most novice old-world Tartarian researcher will notice this awe-inspiring beast, typically used either independently or in conjunction with other creatures on coats of arms as well as national flags. Could this be even more evidence of our not-so-ancient path being flaunted on the Tartarian aesthetic? The topic absolutely begs the question, especially considering how the people of said time periods didn't have time for aesthetic details due to quote-unquote lack of technology for resources. The origin of the name itself seems to be a debated topic amongst modern scholars, amongst one of them William Sayers of the medieval past, stating how the Latin term was reintroduced in a medieval Latin to mean a light javelin, of course, which is a lightweight spear-like weapon. This is possibly where the relationship between the wyvern and the dragoon originated. Another mythological creature mentioned in the story of Final Fantasy II was, of course, Lamia, worth mentioning in the conversation about Tartaria, because the Greek gods and goddesses are littered throughout the aesthetic of the Old World, as well as the wyvern was. Lamia, according to the Wikipedia explanation in ancient Greek mythology, was a child-eating monster and in later tradition was regarded as a type of night-haunting spirit or demon. This is an interesting conversation in light of current events, but this isn't a video on those kinds of current events, but I thought it was worth mentioning. As it says here, in the earliest myths, Lamia was a beautiful queen of ancient Libya who had an affair with Zeus and gave birth to his children. Upon learning of this, Zeus's wife Hera robbed Lamia of her children either by kidnapping them and hiding them away, killing them outright, or forcing Lamia to kill them. The loss of her children drove Lamia insane, and she began hunting and devouring others' children. Either because of her anguish or her cannibalism, Lamia was transformed into a horrific creature. Zeus gifted Lamia the power of prophecy and the ability to take out and reinsert her eyes, possibly because Hera cursed her with insomnia or the inability to close her eyes. Next, I also thought it worth mentioning the journey of the heroes through the Jade Passage, coupled in the same category of mithril and precious stones. It is theorized that Tartarian Old World buildings were used in conjunction with precious stones, so it is definitely worth mentioning as well in my opinion. Of course, in the game itself, the Jade Passage connected the heroes to the Castle of Hell, Pandemonium. Of course, the Tartarian Empire was said to spread out across the realm, and Grand Tartary on Old World maps is directly north of China, or modern China. Littered throughout the land of China on buildings as well as statues, jade in Chinese culture is viewed as the stone of heaven, as well as a plethora of moral features such as integrity and virtue, for example. The topic of the esoteric implications of jade could be referred for an entire college course. I do find it fascinating that upon researching the material, it has a profound connection with the spirit world and was appropriately used in Final Fantasy II to describe a sublime spiritual overtone of the character's journey into Pandemonium. Though the story's interpretation flips the mainstream story of Jade on its head with a journey to hell instead of to heaven with the mainstream narrative. Could the old world peoples of that time understand this substance to be a spiritual conduit or energetic dynamo to power their buildings? I definitely think it's reasonable to assert such claims based on what we've previously discussed. In Part 1, I briefly showcased the old map of Final Fantasy I. The same can be said of virtually every entry in the series, including 2. These maps, when observed, seem to be completely foreign or fantastical when compared to modern maps. Could this be yet another simple truth in plain sight when considering how old world maps look? I definitely think it begs the question, especially when you're considering the juxtaposition of what we've been taught and how old world maps look visually. To conclude the second part of the series, we will discuss the concept of dark wizards or sorcerers. We can naturally include Emperor Matthias for this part of the conversation. Now, you might be asking what this specifically has to do with the old world, and I will elaborate. Magic in general, let alone dark magic, is considered to be a fantastical idea. Yet in the Final Fantasy series, it is more often than not, once again, a reoccurring motif. With this in mind, the concept of an ethereal force being harnessed by Tartarian buildings or powerful warlocks is a far cry from anything experienced in modern society. Yet again, is this a callback to how old empires were ran in the past? Could dark sorcerers, such as Matthias, take control of a land using dark magic instead of soldiers and tanks? It's definitely a thought-provoking conversation, and I'd love to hear other people's perspectives on this. And with that being said, this will conclude part 2 in the Final Fantasy series. I hope everybody's been enjoying the concept of the Tartarian and Final Fantasy connection, and I really hope that you will comment down below if you've been enjoying this series and let me know your thoughts. And like I said in part 1, if this series starts to get more engagement, maybe we'll do some revisited episodes of some of these episodes as I start pumping them out. Or maybe, like I said in part 1 as well, maybe start going live and we'll start having just a more in-depth conversation on this. I've really been enjoying making these videos. I know it hasn't been coming out as quickly as I would like, but we'll just see as time goes on what is produced with this series. So with that being said, this is Philomath signing off.